Hey everyone, Alexa here. We're over at Harris Teeter in Locust Point. I'm about to do a nutrition shopping challenge where I take this $20 into the store. I am only going to use this $20 and no more to buy healthy ingredients for a meal to feed 4 people, 4 servings. All right, so we're gonna start our shopping trip in the protein section to kind of build the foundation for our meal there. $15, that would blow pretty much our whole budget. What I'm gonna look for is stuff that's not processed, stuff that's fresh. We have a low budget, but I'm gonna try to get good quality. I'm gonna look out for good deals on things like organic, free-range, grass-fed, and then I'm gonna be looking at the per pound price to see where we can get the most bang for our buck. So we're gonna try to find 1.25 pounds of good, high quality protein that is not going to blow our budget. $10.99 a pound, too much money. We're gonna do better than that. $3.99 a pound there. Ground elk we could get for $9. We could save $1 on ground elk. I've never had ground elk before. 24 grams of protein per 4-ounce serving, 10 grams of fat. I've never made anything with elk before, but we might be using this. So we've got a pound of elk meat. So I'm thinking we put it into a really tasty burger or a meatloaf. We have sweet Vidalia, 79 cents. It'll be plenty for burgers. Now I just had a different idea. We could do like an elk meat sauce. All right, so we're gonna need to get 2 little guys. $1.69 a pound. So we got about 3.5 pounds here. I'm gonna swap out this onion for something that will go better in our meat sauce. See, we got white onions, $1.49. What? Well, we're gonna stick with the Vidalia because it's half the price. So now I'm gonna check out what fresh veggies we can buy that we can incorporate into our sauce. So a traditional Italian bolognese sauce is celery, carrots, onion. In cooking, we call that a mirepoix. That's your base. And then you've got ground beef, tomatoes, so that's what I'm thinking, like an elk bolognese. We're gonna take it over to the canned goods section. We are looking for tomatoes, tomato base for our sauce. I think this is gonna be the winner. Good ingredients, we'll put that in here. We're actually gonna go to the frozen produce. I would just like to get more vegetables on the plate. We have these green and red pepper onion strips for $2.69. We need to check the ingredients because you never know. It looks good. We got onions, green peppers, red peppers. That works for me. So this I found, it's a pepper stir fry, and it is about $1 cheaper. Since this actually has onion in it, I can get rid of this. I think we're definitely looking at coming in under our budget. All right, so now we are at $19.61, including tax, pay. $2.10 change. Boom. Saved a little bit more money with my Vic card, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. So yeah, it's gonna be pretty good. So first, I preheated the oven to 350 degrees. While that was preheating, I prepped the spaghetti squash. So I cut off the end piece so it stood upright, and then hacked it right down the middle. So I cut each spaghetti squash into 2 halves, and then I scooped out the insides, all the seeds, with an ice cream scoop. So my time-saving tip would definitely be to use an ice cream scoop as opposed to a normal spoon. You'll get pretty much all of the insides out. It'll cut through all that stringy, gross stuff a lot quicker than a normal spoon. I set all 4 halves face down on a cookie sheet and then put them in the oven for about 25 minutes at 350. While the spaghetti squash is in the oven, I put all of the elk meat into a big glass bowl, and then I seasoned it to make it taste good. I was a little bit worried about the elk tasting gamey, so I added 1 tablespoon of balsamic vinegar, 1 teaspoon of pepper, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon thyme, dried thyme, 1 teaspoon garlic powder, and 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon paprika, 1 teaspoon fennel seed, and 1 tablespoon of oregano. Once all the seasonings were in, I got in there with my hands, mixed everything up together. Then I took it over to the oven. I used a large Dutch oven, which is just a big ceramic bowl. So I added about a tablespoon of oil. Then I added my meat. Since the elk was so lean, I thought that the oil would make it taste good. But if you were using a fattier meat, like a ground pork or ground beef that was less than 90% lean, you probably wouldn't need the olive oil in the pan. So I just cooked the elk through until it was browned. Along the way, I broke it up with a wooden spoon to break it up into small chunks. I emptied all of the elk meat out, set it aside, and then I added the frozen veggies. Let them cook until they were cooked thoroughly, which took about 10 minutes since they were frozen. And then I added half of the large cans, so about 14 ounces of the crushed tomatoes that we bought. Stirred that all up, and then added the meat back in. Gave that a stir, and then put my lid on it and let it simmer for about 30 minutes. While the sauce was simmering, my spaghetti squash finished, so I took a fork and started by picking the outer edges of the spaghetti squash to loosen it up, scraped everything out. Once the spaghetti squash was ready, I was pretty much ready to eat, so I took a big pile of spaghetti squash and then put a bunch of sauce over top. I chopped up some fresh basil that I had, used that for a fresh garnish on top, and there you have it, spaghetti squash with elk meat sauce.